All right, what is going on YouTube and Twitch and all places in between? This is the GoatCast podcast. Here for February 26th, almost the end of the month. And we got some, basketball's picking up. It's post All-Star, so they're on the downslide of the rest of the season. So we got some interesting topics tonight, some interesting thoughts. But welcome back, Sports Talk Only. It's been a while since he's joined the crew. So what's going on with you, Sports Talk?
Nothing much, man. Just chilling.
Chilling over there. So,
Finally got some time off and all that.
Okay.
Finally kind of feeling a little better mentally about the stuff that's been going on with me. But I'll try to keep up and check in a little more.
Okay. Well, we glad to have you back, and we hope everything goes smooth. Whatever's going on with you. So we just, we're here for you. But also, Big Nige, what's going on, Big Nige?
Feeling great, man. Lakers are kicking butt. LeBron Chich is back.
Oh, here we go.
I'm good, man. I'm rolling. Just like the Lakers. We rolling, baby.
Here we go with that. So that's the first topic for tonight. We're going to talk about Luka getting a chance to play his former team, the team that lost their mind and decided to trade him to the Los Angeles Lakers, the Dallas Mavericks. So last night, interesting night. First off, I want to give a shout out to Opinion Stated, Q from Opinion Stated. He did invite me on last night to watch that game, and we have a pretty cool live stream. So if you haven't checked his channel out, please check him out. But yeah, it was a game that looked like at times it was getting out of hand for the depleted Dallas Mavericks. Let's remember that, the depleted Dallas Mavs. But they made it a game in the third quarter, and then fourth quarter, LeBron James did heat up, and they ran away with it. So what are y'all thoughts on last night's game? Is this, and not even last night's game, we're going to talk about, we're not going to go too much into the Lakers, but these last two games, they played Denver, a team that is notorious for being their kryptonite, and then last night they beat a scrappy Dallas team that, you saw Kyrie. He seemed like he was doing his thing last night. He was motivated. So what do you guys think about this Lakers team so far, in those two games? We're not going to talk about, but we are going to bring up Charlotte and Utah. But for the most part, what do you guys think about these last two games? And, what do you think about the Luka Lakers?
I'll go ahead and start with this one. Last two games was definitely good. Felt good for, again, I guess a lot of Lakers fans. Finally taking the lid off the basket when it comes to beating the Denver Nuggets. The way they looked on defense was probably the most promising thing. Obviously, holding Jokic to 7 shots. That's something to obviously applaud yourself, but still have to take in context that this is the regular season. Jamal Murray didn't really play that well. They did play really good defense. That's attributed to guys like Vanderbilt, Dorian Finney-Smith, even guys like Gabe Vincent, Jordan Goodwin, who's been kind of out there just flying all over the perimeter, putting points up in big numbers, off the bench. But, it's also guys like Rui, Reeves, who's, stepped up into that like big 3 role as a third option on this team and can step up. And we saw a couple weeks ago when he basically soloed the Pacers, and without Luka or LeBron. So it's good to see the Lakers are starting to string together some wins, starting to play both sides of the ball more consistently. I think it was like the last 10 games or so. I think they've been a top 5 offense and defense in the last 10 games or so, something along those lines. But they've been looking really good with Luka. Luka hasn't looked all world in every game. He definitely showed out against the Nuggets, but again, shows you that these high pressure situations, you can count on somebody other than LeBron, other than, Reeves. You got Luka Doncic. So, all that to say, they had a good win against the depleted Mavs. I'm not going to put too much on that. Luka didn't shoot the ball very well, but he still can provide other avenues. He can rebound, he can play make, he can hit timely shots and make key decisions, down the stretch. to take the ball out of somebody like LeBron's hands, who frees him up to be more off the ball, can be more livelier in the fourth quarter because he doesn't have to expend so much energy going throughout the rest of the game. So this is good for LeBron, good for the Lakers, and I'm excited for it.
Okay, what you think, Sports Talk?
Big Nine, they have been the number one defense for the past 18 games. So that's
Okay.
just throwing that out there. But what I think about the Lakers team, um, I'm not really putting too much into their performances uh as of now. They still need to mesh in my eyes. I just think that once they sharpen up whatever weaknesses, like once they play against all the different teams in the league and kind of get a feel for how to exploit every weakness that they have and how to strengthen whatever weakness that the Lakers have, like how the Lakers are going to strengthen their weaknesses and exploit any team in the league's weaknesses. I pretty much think at that point is I'm going to say they're pretty much unbeatable. I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds like, you know, because you got to realize something. When you're talking about a Luka and a LeBron, they don't just see the game, I'm going to score on this guy, or even I'm just going to make this pass because this guy's open. They assess the physical abilities of people and how they perceive the game. So they know everyone's strengths and weaknesses on the court pretty much at all times. So they know how to tire Jokic out, which is what they did versus Denver. They know how to offset his rhythm. So when they looking at you got this is why I'm saying this. I'm not just saying this because of the like I said, the physical talent, the physical tools is all good. I wouldn't even necessarily say that from the physical perspective, they're so overwhelming and formidable. What makes them formidable is what I just said. They know what everything that's going on the court at all times. And if LeBron doesn't catch it, Luka's going to catch it. Now,
Okay.
how do you adjust to that defensively? And how do you catch up with that offensively? I don't know. I don't necessarily see that it can be done. I'm not saying it can't be done, but it would be extremely difficult to do it. So the way I view the Lakers is once they start clicking, unless this is as long as they're healthy. Once they start clicking, getting some games under their belt, beating them in a 7-game series is going to be damn near impossible. Damn near impossible.
You heard it here first.
Now, I'm going to tell you the two teams that stand the best chance out west, and it might sound crazy, and I could say later why, but it would be the Mavs and it would be the Warriors.
Yeah, I got to hear that.
Mm.
I got to hear that about the Warriors.
Mm.
Okay, so that's an interesting take. So the two scariest teams for the Lakers, who Sports Talk thinks are once they figure everything out are near impossible to beat, are the Dallas Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors. So that's an interesting take. So
They're not scary though. Not
oh, so they're not
scary. Not scary in regards to if you compare them to the Lakers, but
okay.
they would stand the best chance based on the tools that they have at their disposal.
Ooh, okay. Well, I'm very interested to hear, how those teams match up, a little better than other teams. They have the tools. But for me, the Lakers are good. I loved what I saw last night. I loved what I saw against Denver. I think that they're playing with a sense of urgency that we haven't seen them play with before. I think they're just trying to acclimate Luka into the system, so they're playing a little bit harder than they might if this was just another regular season night. If this was Luka's 25th game, it might not be as might not be that type of effort. But for defense, their defense is good, and the key thing I always say about defense is it's a stat that requires effort. So it's an effort stat. So if you're playing hard and you're playing with purpose, your defense can shine. and that's what we're seeing. You're seeing guys like Rui and Gabe Vincent and Finney Smith, and even to a very lesser degree, Austin Reeves. You know, they're going at it. They're going after these guys, and they're swarming them. I liked how they swarmed Jokic. They didn't give him any time to really. They didn't give him time to breathe. They didn't give him time to be able to calculate and see what's out there. They were just right on him. So he had to make a move quickly. So he didn't get a chance to really, assess the court like he usually does and kind of read what's going on. So I thought that was a great adjustment that I guess JJ made for that team with that team. And they get a lot of offensive rebounds. A team that can offensive rebound, or excuse me, defensive rebound are going to be problems from them. I'm just going to say it. But right now they do look like a team that is meshing at the right time. They're heading into, I'm guessing, the playoffs with a pretty good rhythm. They still got some, I still have to see them against a few other teams, but I thought last night was a good night for them because it wasn't too easy. They played as I said, depleted Mavs, but they still had to work for that win. And seeing them have to work shows, what kind of mentality that team has. So kudos to JJ Redick and, making that Luka LeBron tandem work, because I was one of those people that said it couldn't work. And so far it's working. Now, how long will it work is the question, because we said the same thing about him and AD earlier this season. And then LeBron became a little more LeBron and he wanted to take over a little bit in games. So he didn't, let AD do his thing in the first 2 or 3 quarters and then rest up and go crazy in the fourth during later parts of the season. So I think that's, I got to see how that plays out. But right now the Lakers are a scary looking team. If I'm out west, I'm gonna have to really scout them now, because they're a different team right now, and they're playing very differently than they were playing at certain points in the season. So with that said, we're going to move on we're going to talk about the playoffs and the playoff push that all these teams are going through, and who we think are contenders, and who these contenders should avoid, especially in the first round. What path is best for them to make it to that conference finals or even to the NBA finals? So I'm gonna share my screen real quick, and we'll bring up we'll start out East for right now, and I'm gonna bring that up, hopefully. And y'all let me know if y'all can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. So we're gonna start out East, where right now Cleveland Cavaliers are number 1, Boston 2, Knicks 3, Pacers 4, Bucks 5. The surprise of the season, Detroit Pistons are 6, and then we have the Magic, Hawks, Heat, and Bulls in that play-in range. So out East, we'll go around, and who are your definite contenders in the Eastern Conference right now?
For me, the definite contenders.
Yes.
I mean, it's really hard to say anybody but Boston. But if we're going to give the Cleveland Cavs their respect, because to me, you can't be a contender unless you have proven that you can make a deep run in the postseason. And to a lesser extent, I know Cleveland, they made some noise last year, but they just kind of folded against Boston. Obviously, injuries played a part as well, but going into this season, if we're just talking regular season, I would say Cleveland. I would say Boston. I don't want to say New York. I don't think they have just not looked good against the top tier teams. They got decimated by what was left of the Lakers before Anthony Davis departed. Yeah, to me, I don't trust New York. I don't trust Indiana. Solid teams for sure. And I mean, you got the Bucks, and the Bucks are probably like a dark horse team just because they have most of the time they'll have the best player in the series with Giannis Antetokounmpo. So you can't dismiss the Bucks. I just don't think the pieces around him, like Kuzma, could be something that could help them, obviously, but it's really just Cleveland and Boston as like contenders, and then everybody else just, you got Milwaukee as a dark horse. Everybody else just fall in line.
Okay. How about you, Sports Talk? Who are your contenders out east?
Say the Celtics, the Cavs, and the Knicks for me would be the
Okay, you
top
going
three
you
contenders.
giving the Knicks a
Or,
chance?
uh, then I don't think about Giannis. That's a tough out. Uh, Maybe the Bucks, because
Bucks.
Giannis in the playoffs is pretty damn dominant. So it don't
If
really
you
matter
stay.
who. Yeah. He got a fully healthy team.
Mhm.
Damian Lillard and the way he plays in the playoffs, I could see them challenging probably anyone in the East. Probably not winning the East though. If I'm just being honest, I think that the Celtics are going to win the East. Like I just think that that's what it is. I think they're
Okay.
just gonna have to. I think people are just gonna have to accept that because what I see in them is, they got that championship swagger.
Hmm.
Then I've seen them dismantle the Cavs too many times. I just seen them dismantle them in a way where it's like they shouldn't be able to do it. Like I just think that they have all the tools to handle them in a 7 game series. Like now it might go 6 or 7 games, but I think
Hmm.
they would end up coming out victorious. So I would say that in order, the Celtics, the Cavs, then the Bucks.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with all the guys. I think Boston is the clear cut favorite to win the East. Cleveland, as good as they play, I need to see them. I don't want them to be a Toronto Raptors or that Atlanta Hawk team that ruled the regular season, but then got to the playoffs and were just fodder for teams for LeBron team. But I have to see. I have to. They have to show me something. So I'm gonna put Cleveland in there, but I'm not confident. And like you said, the Bucks. Giannis, if Giannis is healthy, they're going to be a different type of team because they do have championship pedigree for the most part. Where they got rid of, Drew and Middleton, who were part of that championship team. But Giannis does. He does have some championship pedigree. I know most people don't like Doc, but he does have championship pedigree. You know, we can't, we can't deny that he's won a championship. So, I think they're a team that understand what the playoffs are and how to play in the playoffs. I just don't think they're good enough to beat Boston, and I think Boston is the standard out east. So I think really, truly, if I'm saying who's going to be a true contender is Boston, and to a lesser extent Milwaukee in my mind because Cleveland just hasn't shown me and they haven't proven that they're what they are yet. So with that said, who of those contenders, who should they definitely try to avoid in round one? And since I know Big Nines, you said Boston and Cleveland pretty much were your clear cut ones. Should Cleveland avoid, and who should Boston avoid if they want to definitely go to the second round?
Each other. I think that's the most obvious answer. They
Well,
don't.
yeah,
They
they'll
the
definitely avoid each other first round. I would hope so.
Yeah. That those are the two best teams,
So
and
you
I
don't think
think
any other team?
probably the Bucks as I
So
put third on my list. Probably the Bucks because like I said, Giannis is one of those dudes where it don't matter what defensive scheme you put on him. Um, he could get you like 40, 15, and 8 if you want, whenever he
yeah,
want. So dealing with that is it's a little different. So that's why it would definitely be a really tough to get him out of the first round. So I would avoid the Bucks if I'm the Cavs or the Celtics. I'm avoiding the
okay.
Bucks.
How about Big Nine? If you were either of those teams or any of the teams you're thinking of as contenders, who would you avoid come first round?
I was gonna die on the Atlanta Hawks train for the longest
Ooh.
until Cleveland took my dark horse ace in the hole, DeAndre Hunter. I just think he was one of those big difference makers in like a first round
Mhm.
series because we understand what you're gonna get from Trey Young, Kongwu, like the rest of that squad, like even Dyson Daniels, like defensively what he brings and he can still score as well. But I just think the dimension that the Hawks have They honestly match up very well with Cleveland and Boston. They can play big, they can play small.
Hmm, interesting.
But without Hunter coming and giving that, impact off the bench, I mean, yes, they replaced him with Karis LeVert and Niang, which are still serviceable role players and could definitely still help them and help my case when I say that Atlanta is the team you don't want to see in the first round if you are a contender. But they got a little bit worse. And I don't feel the same way as I felt about the Hawks, pre-trade deadline like I did. So I mean, I can still say the Hawks because they are still out of those teams. Orlando is depleted a little bit. They still don't have, another score. They don't have the, enough 3-point shooting to compete with the top two teams. They're just going to get shot out the building. Like they can compete with Boston and Cleveland, but they don't have enough offense to, especially Boston. Boston's a bad matchup for Orlando because they're big, very good defensively. But when it comes down to it, Boston's just going to generate too much offense for Orlando to keep up. Miami is pretty much abysmal. I mean, sure, do they have the right schemes that could, bother a contending team? Sure, but they don't have enough talent as these other teams do. Exceptionally coached, but not enough. We're not going to talk about Chicago because they stink. So that's pretty much it. It's Atlanta, and maybe you want to throw Orlando in there as like you don't want to sleep on them because the greatness of Paulo and Franz Wagner, but you get into you got those top two teams in the East, even Milwaukee, they're not messing with any of those teams. So
okay, so no fear of, say, for instance, if Detroit drops to a 7 or 8, should they fear Detroit?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, no. Okay. Hey, I'm just asking the question. I mean, but yeah, the East is just very, very top heavy. Anybody below the 5th seed is kind of fodder. I do like your Atlanta Hawks assessment, but I don't see them. But like you said, they're a sneaky team where they can come in there and they can win games that you would think they wouldn't win. Just because off the back of Trae Young, but doesn't get the props that he should, but he can put them on his back and win games that don't seem winnable. Now, can they do that against the Boston Celtics? Absolutely not. Could they do that to a Cleveland Cavaliers team? I wouldn't put it past them. I would not. I wouldn't bet any money on that, but I think that would be that could be a 2011 Memphis Grizzlies versus San Antonio Spurs, where no one thought the Grizzlies were going to beat the Spurs, but they ran them off the court. So, Atlanta's a team that's going to be a little tricky, but I think Cleveland is well built. And this, like I said, this is going to show us who the Cleveland Cavaliers really are once we get into the playoffs. But let's move on down to a conference that has a little more parity, in my opinion, and that is the Western Conference. Right now, we got the Thunder sitting at 1, the Grizzlies sitting at 2, Nuggets holding on to that 3 spot, but the Lakers are surging up there. We have the Houston Rockets, who have fallen a little bit, at the 5. The Los Angeles Clippers at 6. Then you have the Timberwolves, Golden State Warriors, Dallas Mavericks, and Sacramento Kings rounding out the play-in pool. So, who are you guys' contenders out west? Let's hear them.
I'm gonna say the Lakers, the Thunder, and probably, if I had to choose, the Nuggets.
Okay. A lot of conviction with the Nuggets, but
but only because if they run into the Lakers, they're getting curb stomped. I'm telling you right now, they getting dog walked. I saw enough in that game to know they ain't equipped to handle them.
Okay, well we gonna come back
because.
To
okay, we can.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say because I could tell what the Nuggets were trying to do. They were trying to process because of Jokic's IQ, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to process a way to pretty much put Jokic in the best position to slow down or match Luka and LeBron, and you can't do it. They were because he's the brain of the operation.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So they're not because they have Jokic. He's the brain of all the everything that runs and the way they run. And for him, it's not a talent thing. Well, I think the Lakers are more talented anyways, but
Okay.
But it's more of a thing where the mental chess game that Jokic would have to play. They got to run it through Jokic. Now, if this was like, I would say, if Jokic had a prime Westbrook on his team, he would have a better chance because he got another brain to work with. But
so you don't think Jamal Murray's gonna show up in the playoffs?
he can show up, but he's too exploitable
he's
too. He's too exploitable.
Okay.
If you make him work on the defensive end, then what? He gonna tire out offense.
Okay.
So it's too many. I think there's just too many tactical tools that the Lakers have for a team like Denver. Normally, the way Denver gets by is Jokic's IQ.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they get by, whether people realize it or not. I'm not saying that they're not talented.
I mean, I agree with you.
I'm saying that he's the one that runs the show. If you shut his water off, that team is going to look horrible as presented.
Okay. So, do you think in a 7-game series he's going to take 7 shots every night, and he still got a triple-double on you guys?
He may not, but in a 7-game series, he's going to have to outthink Luka and LeBron at the same time.
All right.
And I'm going to tell you what they did in the game versus the Pacers after they just lost to the Lakers. What they're working on, I already see it. They're working on ball movement like the 2014 Spurs. So they can keep up. Yeah, I know that. I'm saying that's what they're working on so they can keep up with the Lakers. I saw it. I saw it beforehand. So you think LeBron and Luka don't see that? What you think they thinking?
Okay.
I mean, I don't necessarily. I just know that if you got that much basketball knowledge on the same team, the way they're looking at things ain't the same as every other team. Anything that LeBron might not see, Luka sees it and he's going to catch it. So you're talking about something that probably don't. I'm not gonna say don't have any flaws, but can you exploit their flaws 4 times in a 7-game series? I don't see it.
Okay. So I'm gonna save that question. Okay. Big Nine, who are your contenders out west?
Got to give respect to OKC. Got another year under their belt. Obviously, running away with the number 1 seed. I'm not sold on Memphis. Solid team, not a contender. Denver, give them their respects, and of course they got the best player in the world. So Denver's a contender. I got the Lakers in there just from getting. You acquire somebody like Luka, you have to put your name in contention status. Outside of that, it's just those 3. Just like Sports Talk said. Having said that, I'm gonna have to push back a little bit on my man Sports Talk. Because if I'm the Lakers, I still don't really want to see Denver. I'm just gonna be completely honest.
They don't.
Are we better equipped to handle Denver this year? I think you could make that argument, but to say we would dog walk Denver, I think that's a bit of a stretch.
You can push back, but
I think that's a little.
What I'm telling you is it's not a talent thing. It's hard to explain, but when you got 2 different thoughts going in different directions that can control the game at will, to keep up with that shit, it's not normal. You're going to have to think in so many different ways. They're wearing them down mentally before any wear down of physical or anything else. They're assessing, okay, what is the weaknesses in Jamal Murray? What's the weaknesses in Jokic? What's the weaknesses in everybody on this team? Is he slow-footed? Can he not catch a lob? They're looking at all that stuff. Then you looking at Luka just went to the finals, so he got finals experience. You're looking at LeBron. Obviously, he's a 4-time champion, 4-time Finals MVP. He done won on 3 different teams, 3 different coaches, 3 different second options. Now you're talking. He's 22 years in his career. He done seen just about everything you could throw at him.
I agree.
So I'm not saying it in a way to be disrespectful to other teams. Like, oh, they just stand no chance, right? I'm not saying it in that way. Don't get me wrong. Teams could put up a fight. What I'm questioning is the mental. Oh shit! Hold on.
But
Okay.
What I'm questioning is the mental resolve, right?
Okay.
I'm questioning that because how do you're gonna get worn down mentally at some point, and they can adjust in real time. So even when you adjust in the series, they can adjust in real time to whatever you think you got going on.
Hmm.
So to do that 4 times, I'm not saying it can't happen, but I mean my best bet. I mean, you better hope they get injured. I'm just telling you right now.
But I just have a question. Okay, I was going to wait. So you think the Lakers can keep up that defensive intensity throughout the rest of this season and into the playoffs? And are you really going to trust guys like Finney Smith and Rui and even Austin Reeves to carry the load when necessary? Because I hear what you're saying. Those two guys are extremely smart basketball minds, but they can't make shots for guys. And Luka does have a propensity to miss shots. So does LeBron. So
Yeah,
in a
but
pinch, if they're not hitting from the 3-point shot from the 3-point line, like they showed last night, where that third quarter they couldn't hit a three, and the Mavs were able to catch up. And this was not a great Mavs. This wasn't a full strength Mavs team. So you don't think teams can't can't compromise them if they're missing threes? They can't you know see that and do what they need to do. Especially a team like Denver that's pretty disciplined. I think disciplined teams are going to be a tough out for the Lakers. I mean, I hear what you're saying about the IQ. I know LeBron, looking at that fourth quarter, that was masterful. He knew what he needed to do to exploit that Mavs defense and that Mavs team. And I get that. But when they have these lulls, I think you're looking at it if they're playing at their best the whole way through the playoffs. And I think that there's going to be teams that are going to give them problems when it comes to that, because you got to trust guys that may not be the most trustworthy guys.
okay, you going I will be like right back. I have to
Okay.
have you hold that thought. I'll be right back.
Okay. So we'll wait for Sports Talk to come back for that question. But Big Nige, is that kind of complete your contenders?
yeah, the Lakers, the Thunder, and the Nuggets. Not in that order, but that's who I'll be
Yeah,
rooting for
okay.
in that order.
So those, yeah, okay, yeah, I get it. But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much the clear cut, guys. You're not going to trust a Memphis Grizzlies team. The Houston Rockets are probably a couple years away from being trustworthy as a true contender. The Clippers, I'm not so much against them. I mean, I know they're not the greatest team out west, but I mean, if Kawhi can slowly, I mean, I know he was out. Was he out last night or
I
the night
think so.
before?
Something like that.
Yeah, he's still having, whatever issues he's having. But if they can somehow drag him into the playoffs fully healthy and somehow wrap him up after every game and keep him from getting hurt during the game, I think they're a sneaky good team. And I don't want to call them contenders, but I want to call them a team that could pull that Indiana Pacer run from last season, which, there was caveats to that, but I think they're a team that could go further than we probably think they can. That's all. That's what I'm going to say. They're not terrible defensively, and they have scores. Norman Powell's been great. James Harden, no matter how you feel about him at this stage of his career, he's good. Kawhi can still get you buckets, and they have a serviceable big, and I just think they're a team that can do things that will give other teams trouble. But I guess that I might need to save that for who the contenders don't want to play first round. So you have no hope in the 7 through 10 range. Dallas at full strength, you don't think is a contender?
I think it's kind of too late in the season for them to be in that contention status because they're going to have such an uphill battle. I think Dallas is primed for next season to be kind of potentially in that contender spot. I mean, players are going to get a little older. Kyrie can get a little older. Clay going to get a little bit older. So their window is a lot shorter. So,
Mhm.
like, I think this season, again, they're the ninth seed. Will they make the playoffs? I'm picking them to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But you talk about contender, they have an uphill battle and like no chance of home court advantage. So hard for me to give them that nod this season, but they'll definitely be tricky for next season.
Okay, so we'll try to not go too fast so we can get sports talk thoughts on this. But as far as your contenders, you were OKC, slightly Denver, and Laker fan for that. Who do each of those teams not want to play first round, if anybody?
So for OKC, I think that would be an interesting matchup for them in Golden State or the Mavericks. The Mavericks just notoriously
Yes,
match up well with OKC.
yes.
Obviously, you adding a guy like Anthony Davis, who is known for punishing the Thunder, just because they got Chet, they got Hartstein, they got bigger, but
Mm-hmm.
those guys they can't hang with AD. And you have AD with the Gafford, with the Lively, that promotes a lot of matchup problems for some of the slower footed bigs over there in OKC. I'm not going to say Chet's very slow footed, but he's more of a rim protector and not he ain't trying to slide them puppies too much like that. So, they provide some matchup problems. Obviously, they have no answer for Kyrie Irving. And obviously the Mavs don't have an answer for Shea, but
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
the Thunder's players, are they ready to take that next step to elevate a guy like Shea to get them? They got the number 1 seed, they got home court damn near locked up.
Mm-hmm.
Will those other guys step up in big, not home games, but road games to close a team like a Dallas, like a Golden State out, who, if you let them hang around too much, they can mess around and beat
Right.
you. Those teams are veteran teams. They know what it takes to beat you as the number 1 seed. A younger, more inexperienced squad, might I add. So if I'm OKC, I don't want Golden State, truthfully. I don't want Dallas. But if I had to pick, I would take Golden State just in the sense that they're a little more frail inside, and you understand what you need to do to kind of limit a Steph Curry. You have to give up what you got to give up from Jimmy Butler, but I think you live with those matchups instead of getting killed inside like you do against the Mavs, who also have PJ Washington, who is the Thunder killer.
Yeah. Sorry, I gotta let sports talk back in, but
Oh, good.
okay. So you saying Golden State, OKC does not want to see them, or potentially the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah. If I
So
was them, I want to see Sacramento and I want to see Minnesota. I want to see those 2 teams if I'm OKC.
I don't think those. I mean, I think Minnesota might can pull it off and get in there, but Sacramento, they're not getting there.
They are a bad matchup. Both of those teams are a bad matchup for OKC. They'll run them. They'll run those teams off the floor.
All right, I'm back. My bad, I had something else going on.
Yeah, no problem.
If I can remember your question. So you pretty much saying that I'm thinking about if they operate on a damn near perfect level.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying they have to be perfect, but I'm saying those guys have to show up. As Shaq says, the others have to show up. So
yeah. But well, you also got to think about this too. In 2023, the Lakers went to the Western Conference Finals.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Vanderbilt was there. Austin Reeves was there.
Mm-hmm.
Rui Hachimura was there. So you do got guys you can depend on outside of LeBron and Luka in big moments. And one of those games, Austin Reeves actually closed them out, the Grizzlies or something like that. So in big moments, LeBron, I mean, I don't know if he's some kind of dude that could predict shit, but he gave it to Reeves because he trusts Reeves, and then he's like, it's building his confidence in the playoffs as you get into later series. So Reeves do got that playoff experience. And you got to realize they also know what Denver is. They know how they play. So it's about keeping up with the Lakers' new style.
Mm-hmm.
And can you do that 4 times in a 7-game series with all the adjustments they can make in real time too? Because you think about it like this: if you beat them one time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say once. Maybe you get lucky and it's still game 1. You're going into the next game with LeBron and Luka Doncic, who adapt in real time, and they also look at every way that you can counter them before the game even starts. So they're taking every angle, everything that you did, and they're synthesizing their strengths and pretty much eliminating all their weaknesses that caused them to lose that game. So that's what they're going into game 2 with. And then whatever adjustments you make, they can adapt the adjustments you make that, maybe got you the win in the first game, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to adapt to whatever you're trying to capitalize on in real time. So this is why I'm so sold on them, because I'm not looking at the physical abilities of Luka, LeBron, anyone on that team. I'm looking at the brain power and how they process everything that's going on the court. And I'm saying to beat them 4 times in a 7-game series, it's not impossible. Nothing is impossible, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying to do it, you're going to have to perform at a historic level 4 times in a 7-game series. You're going to have to outsmart both of those guys.
But that goes back to my question. You're assuming that they're going to play this high effort defense every game.
Okay,
I mean, you're
look,
not going to
they don't necessarily have to.
So you think they're going to
They've
outscore
been
teams?
the number 1 defense
Yeah,
for the
I mean,
past 18
I hear
games.
that. They were a good
So
defensive team
they're
last
doing
year.
something right on the defensive end.
Yeah.
But that's not what I'm looking at. I'm talking about keeping up with their thoughts. That's
But
what I'm talking about.
their thoughts could be crazy, but they can have crazy thoughts. But you got to
But
stop the
you
team
got to
on the other
understand
side
this
of the
too.
court.
If you start adjusting to LeBron, what are you going to do with Luka Doncic? He's on the other side of the court. He doing his own. LeBron's doing his own thing, and Luka is like, I see an opening over here, and he about to exploit that. But you worried about LeBron.
See what you're saying?
That's what I saw when they played the Nuggets, because
have to stop the other team from scoring also. So that's my concern.
They've had the number. I'm not concerned about that.
I mean, that's my number 1 concern, because Luka and LeBron are going to do what Luka and LeBron do, but you have to stop the other team from scoring, and you can't make shots for the other guys. So if Finney Smith, Austin Reeves, if those guys are off, you got to offset that lack that lack of scoring.
It's true, but you got to realize that Luka and LeBron aren't just scorers; they're ball facilitators. They can get everyone involved.
But if
know how to get everyone involved. You said what?
I said if you get them involved and they're not scoring, they're not making those baskets, then
it's going to be rare for everyone on the Lakers to be off, because they're going to have. What I'm saying is this: they're going to have so many open looks. The way the Lakers are constructed now is a lot different than it was with Anthony Davis, where LeBron was the only ball facilitator. And when he gasses out, well, I mean, the offense falls apart. It becomes stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
But now you got another brain working with him that can go in. If the offense start falling apart, now you got a guy that can take over on on that end. And then guess what? Guess that frees up LeBron. That frees up the responsibilities of everybody on that team. Most of the guys that you're talking about, their only thing they're going to really have to do is knock down open shots and get in the right position to get fed the ball.
And
That's pretty much it. They don't have to be like, I got to get 30 tonight.
No, absolutely not. But they got to hit what they're, the ones that they're hoping that they hit, they got to hit those.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
All right. Because I'm rooting for the Lakers too, but I can't simply dismiss what I did see when they played against the Hornets, right? We saw close game in the fourth quarter. We saw LaMelo Ball essentially exploit Luka Doncic every time he could in the fourth quarter. So my question is, do you trust that JJ Redick will be able to hide Luka in a postseason setting against a team like Denver, against the mind of a guy like you had mentioned, Nikola Jokic, in a Jamal Murray? How are you going to be able to hide Luka in this high pick and roll? Because you're not going to be able to switch everything, and you could try to put one of those Finney Smith Vandos on him to maybe contain him, but with a guy like Jokic, he's going to find Luka's man. And Luka is not the greatest off ball, and he's damn sure not the greatest on ball defender. So if you have somebody like that, with someone just as smart as him and a Jokic, how can you hide him for that 7-game series?
And that
you trust
that sounds good, but
sounds real good.
You're asking about Luka. Now, if they are exploiting Luka in that way, it's not just one-sided. They are exploiting Luka to their advantage, right? But Luka can also exploit them. And then you have LeBron James, who, if you're focusing on exploiting Luka as your chance to possibly beat them 4 times, I don't think that's enough. You have LeBron on the other side, and it's just not, it doesn't bode well. Like, there were specific reasons why I chose the Mavs and the Warriors as the biggest threats, rather than the Nuggets.
Okay.
The Nuggets, as I said before, they run through Jokic. So his IQ and the speed at which he's processing everything on that court is the reason why the Nuggets are a great team. The problem is, versus the Lakers, it's not going to work because it's 2 different guys going in 2 different directions at every time on the court. That's why they look so overwhelmed. They were trying to keep up with what the hell is going on. They like, well, if I double Luka right here, there's a perfect example. They doubled Luka when he was at the 3-point line, and LeBron was already running at the rim cutting. They didn't even realize what was going on. He was running at the, like, LeBron's running at full steam ahead, and Luka's at the 3-point line. They trying to stop him because Luka was heating up.
But you don't trust the adjustments that they'll make in a postseason setting?
I don't trust it 4 times in a 7-game series because the way Luka and LeBron can adjust. That's the big thing. They can adjust in real time, and they can adjust before the game. Every weaknesses that you thought they had, they can adjust and tweak it. So even if it was something that caught them off guard the next game, they could be like, okay, well, I see that they're doing this. Let's adapt. Both of them. That's why I'm saying it's going to be really hard, really, 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 really hard to beat this team.
So why would the Warriors have a better chance when the LeBron he could average 40 against them in his sleep?
Yeah, I know. It sounds crazy to say.
I don't get that one.
They're a wild card, so they would be my dark horse. Meaning, okay, we know what a dark horse is. Meaning, if the Lakers play them in the first round, they're gonna dog walk them, right? But if you allow a team like the Warriors to hang around and they go to let's just say they get to the Western Conference Finals, they would be a very dangerous team for 2 reasons. Because Steph Curry, if you haven't been watching as of late, Steph Curry, he's been really explosive on offense. Now that he pretty much don't got to worry about shit else with Jimmy Butler on that team, he's just lighting it up. That's all he's doing. He ain't worried about passing. He's just scoring. So he's explosive, right? So you got that. And then Steph Curry wants to get his 5th ring because he wants to be recognized as better than LeBron in this era. And then you got Jimmy Butler, who probably wants some get back for what LeBron did. And he definitely want to get his 1st ring. So I see Steph Curry, and he has less responsibilities because Jimmy Butler, right? I look at Jimmy Butler, who in the playoffs, he turns it up to an extreme level. We saw him get to the finals with not even all the best talent around him twice. And that's hard to stop, especially if you got into the conference finals. And then I look at this, Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler. Now, there was the game with the Bulls. They were down 25 in the 3rd quarter. No, they were down 24 in the 3rd quarter. And then by the 4th quarter, they were up 25. And I know it's just the Bulls, but what allowed them to do that is the defensive synergy of Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler. And that is the main reason I think that they would be really dangerous if they got a chance to get to the Western Conference Finals and face the Lakers, because they would have, whoever they faced before, they would have been able to prepare enough. I don't think they prepare enough for the Lakers, but they could probably take them 6 games, a tough 6 games, because if you allow Draymond and Jimmy Butler to click on defense, it's going to be dangerous because they could blow up plays, they can anticipate. And then you got Curry, who can be really explosive from offense. And they all got playoff experience. So that's why I look at the work. It just depends. Like in the first round, the Warriors, if they get lucky, they would have to beat, like, if they're the 8th seed, they're gonna have to beat OKC, which I don't see happening, right? Even I'm saying you got to put them out early. That's what I'm saying.
Who, the Lakers?
No, you got to put the Warriors out early.
The Warriors are okay.
If you don't put the Warriors out early, they would be the toughest team to match up with, in my opinion.
I just don't
for the Lakers.
I don't trust anybody outside of Steph and Jimmy. But like, even with Jimmy's point, he looked very good as the number 1 guy, the guy with the ball in his hands. And I'm sure they could probably run a scenario where he has the ball in his hands, late in ball games, because Steph can play off the ball. But I don't know what that looks like, because Steph's the guy. So he's going to have to defer to a certain degree that could almost hinder his performances late in ball games, because he's used to having that ball in the last 5 seconds of the shot clock and going to get his, and then kind of worry about everybody else quarters 1 through 3. But now it's just going to be a little different. I just don't know if I trust those two, especially against a team like the Lakers, because you all the points you made with us having Luka. That's just so bad for them, because what LeBron did to them, you even
I get
it's
that.
cool, but it's just like
I'm just saying they would be dangerous if they were to meet in the conference finals, right? Because you allowing Jimmy Butler and Draymond to click on defense, and in the second round they probably have to face someone like Denver if they got there. And if they were to beat Denver, that would be a sign that their defense was effective enough to blow up all them plays that Jokic is making. So
Jokic gonna average like 50 that series.
No. See, I don't know if you watched the 2022 playoffs when Draymond defended Jokic.
He did do a good job, but that's all.
But what I'm saying, you putting him with Jimmy Butler. And what I'm saying is, when you combine their defensive awareness and capabilities, it can be dangerous. I'm not necessarily saying I would favor them over any of these teams. I'm saying you pretty much gotta hope. I would say any team other than the Lakers, you gotta hope that you catch them when they off, because it's going to be harder to do if they were to get in the second round and were to get a feel for the first round and got out of the first round. When you start stacking up Jimmy Butler's playoff experiences and even Steph Curry's, and then the defensive abilities of, like I said, both Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler on the same team, it's kind of in the same way of like Luka and LeBron. They are a tandem on offense that you pretty much have no answer for. And then on the defensive end for Golden State, if they're allowed to click like that, they would be able to anticipate certain things that others can't. And then you still have to factor in Steph Curry's explosion on offense. And Jimmy Butler can explode on offense in moments too. They call him Jimmy Buckets for a reason. Now, I don't necessarily trust that they'll beat the Lakers in a 7-game series, but I'm saying that's why they would be the most dangerous, or maybe like a wild card to the Lakers
Big
if they
time
were
wild.
given that ability to get to the West Conference. Like they got to get there first. That's how I see it. You don't want to face them in the West Conference Finals. You would rather. So in the first round, second round setting, I'm picking the Lakers, and they're gonna, pretty much walk over. Now, the reason I said the Mavs, if they're fully healthy, is because
That's a truthful one. That's one I can get behind because, yeah,
it's not just the typical thing about the lack of rim protection. There are ways to get around that with their team defense. But when I look at Anthony Davis, for sure the Lakers don't have anyone to guard him. And in the way Kyrie can get to the rim, like normally when he is like about to drive and finish at the rim, what do teams normally do? They double him or try to double him, and with his handle he could, confuse or do certain things. But then you would have Anthony Davis. You would pretty much have a pick and roll that the Lakers could not guard because they don't have a legit big man. So it would be it would be hard for them to deal with that. But the Mavs, that's the only reason why I say that. And then, they don't really have a guy that they don't really have a floor general. So they're more exploitable. But at the rim, that'll be my only concern is Anthony Davis at the rim and that Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis pick and roll. And then they're a pretty good defensive team. So I'm giving teams a chance to have good defense. Now the Warriors, they don't have any, rim protection or anything like that.
Sure
but
don't.
They have that defense that I'm talking about. So that's how I see it. And then with the Mavs, they have both, but they don't have a ball facilitator. So it can be exploited because even if no matter how good they are on defense, to stop Luka and LeBron, like I don't see it happen. Not on that end. And it's not just their scoring ability, it's how they get everybody else involved too. And how they make their adjustments. So those would be the two teams to look out for as far as now I think if the Mavs matched up with them in the first round, it would be dangerous because that would mean that the Lakers didn't have the ability to gel in the playoffs. So it would be dangerous for the Lakers for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they would be eliminated, but that would probably be the worst matchup at that time. You know what I mean? So that's how I see the Mavs. Any other round, I'm not really looking at it that way because if you give the Lakers time to gel, by the time the second or the conference finals come around, it's ball game at that point.
Okay.
I think I don't want to keep rambling, but
No,
I think that the Nuggets. What I want to see is the Nuggets Warriors in a second round. That's what I want to see because I think
they have to get embarrassed.
I don't think it's as easy as people. I don't see the Warriors as like overwhelming or nothing like that. I'm just saying, hold on. I'm just saying if you give them a chance to click, they can be, because of the playoff experience and the defensive tandem of Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler, they can be dangerous. I think they have an ability to like explode at a moment's notice and kind of take teams by surprise. Like I wouldn't necessarily pick them in a 7-game series versus Denver. I wouldn't necessarily pick them in a 7-game series versus OKC. But I'm saying it's not going to be as easy as everybody think. They're not just a team that you about to just walk over. Just, I don't know what people ain't seeing, but they're not. What I'm saying is they're showing certain qualities that can be formidable if fully realized. And then they have to get a favorable matchup, though. You know what I mean? So they had to get something favorable to get to that point.
They're 19. So yeah, they're gonna have to get a big time, and there's probably no favorable matchups for them unless somebody just completely falls off the map.
like a team they had to get higher in the standings, pretty much. Like they could take a team like the Grizzlies or the Rockets in the first round. I think they could.
I'm sleep, dog. You got 3 guys in your starting lineup that are barely 6'5", or they're 6'3". You got 6'3", 6'5", 6'5". And you got Butler at 6'7" and Draymond Green at 6'6".
But they don't got that playoff experience. They don't got that that battle tested DNA. They don't. They young. And and I'm telling you, it's something different about being young. It's like when an inexperienced fighter goes in there with a vet. You get taught a lot because you think you know everything, and when the pressure starts to mount up, they can't respond in certain ways that Golden State can. Now, the Grizzlies, that might be tougher because Ja Morant is a little battle tested, and they are a little battle tested. So that would be a tougher out than the Rockets. But I would, if it was a Rockets Warriors series, I'm picking the Warriors.
So I mean, you trust Podziemski and Moody. Like, I understand you trust Curry, Butler, and to a lesser extent Draymond Green, but you trust those 3 on the same court together, Podziemski, Curry, and Moody, to not get exploited by even the younger teams, because those teams are bigger than them they're physical.
It's not necessarily about that. It's about the experiences. And what I'm saying is what I see in Jimmy Butler is a game changer, because if he could show up the way he do versus the Celtics or versus the Bucks, I mean, it's a if, but if he can,
sure,
and you have to watch the Warriors games. Jimmy Butler been there, frees Curry up in a way where he really only has to worry about shooting the ball, and that's dangerous. That is very dangerous. When Curry don't have to worry about the other things on the court, it takes his responsibilities off of him. And now he could just be like, I'm just about to keep pulling up from here. And they don't. I wouldn't say nobody has the defense to stop him. Might have something to slow him down, but I don't think the Rockets got that.
I got a question.
That's just my personal opinion.
I got a question.
The Rockets, Thompson.
And for the second time, because I gotta get these kids fed, we're gonna have to shut down here in a minute. We're gonna do community quarter next week. Sorry we couldn't get to it, but I just have this one question. Other than the Golden State Warriors, what team without a solid big has won a championship in the last 10 years?
I didn't say the Golden State Warriors was about to win anything.
But I'm just asking, because this also applies to the Lakers.
Yeah, but it also almost doesn't. It also almost doesn't.
Do the Celtics count?
The Celtics, Al Horford is a solid big.
I mean, when the Warriors were winning, who was they big?
It was they at a certain point it was Bogut.
Yeah.
They had
when they had at a time. It ain't JaVale McGee ain't a world changer or world beater.
he's a solid big, and
get some JaVale's off the street. Get some JaVale McGee's off the street. I don't think that really is that big of a deal to have a big, with everything being so switchable nowadays. I see your point to your question.
I'm asking that. Tell me which teams have done it. That's what I'm asking.
I don't. I
The
think the Celtics.
Warriors,
I don't really care for their bigs, to be honest, because they're not even really
the
that.
KD Warriors.
Now, I've said besides the Warriors were just
Yeah, but see what I'm saying.
unbeatable.
You wait. I'm not saying because LeBron not in his prime no more, so it's a little different.
So, are we compare the KD Warriors to the 2025
No, if
Los
if
Angeles
if
Lakers?
Le, if
Okay.
LeBron was in his prime, hell yeah, but but there's a difference now. What I'm saying is, as said before, it's not just about the physical tools. I I'm looking at the brain, man. That brain, you can't shut it off. I don't care how hard you try. And that's how they look. That's how
My
they're looking at
thing
it.
is the brain can't put shots in the basket.
I
That's
mean,
that's just
Hey,
do we
I
call
mean,
Giannis
that's
a
what it.
big?
What you mean? That's what it do.
Is Giannis a big?
is Giannis big?
Do we consider Giannis a big?
I mean, you tell me. Is he big?
I mean, if he ain't, I mean, like you talking about great center or great power forward center, like because I
I
mean,
mean,
people have
a
deep
guy that can, battle down low with other bigs, a guy that can protect your rim.
but I mean, you
Um,
can like Draymond at that point. Draymond is a big. Like I
I
need
mean,
more.
yeah,
Like, are you talking about like a footer that can do those things? Or are you just talking about someone who could just stick at center and say go crazy?
I'm just saying a big that can do certain things, that a big that can guard other bigs, and a big that can get you buckets if necessary. Do you
I
think Jackson
mean,
Hayes can guard other bigs? Can Jackson Hayes guard Jokic?
Nobody
I
can
mean,
guard Jokic.
but didn't the Lakers just show that without a big they could shut Jokic water off?
For one game, they did,
Yeah,
and
but I'm
he.
saying,
I'm
do
saying
you
he can. They can adjust to that,
they
but if
can, but
but
can
he's
that
going to
can
wear those guys out
nah
eventually.
nah it's
Eventually,
And you
it's too many of them.
and you
And
said how many
they
games?
are they're too smart and adaptable. So I was watching FYF Sports Lamont the other day,
hmm
and he was talking about how they were setting Jokic off his rhythm, the exact things they were doing. Then I watched
yeah, I saw
Thinking
it.
Basketball and how they're doing things intentionally to fluster him and throw him out of his rhythm.
Yeah, they played him. They played him
And
close. They
and,
didn't give him
and
no
what I'm
space.
saying is, where do you think that comes from? That's coming from LeBron and Luka telling them like, look, this is the weakness. This is what we gonna do. This is the game plan.
So are you
And
going to
he
put
ain't
Vando on Jokic if he's posting up? If he's not facing the basket, are you going to put him back to the basket? You put Vando on him or any of those other smaller, those Rui Hachimura or whoever. You're gonna put those guys on a back to the basket Jokic.
if he's consistently posting up, that's not gonna be enough. It's
Okay.
too exploitable.
And how are we gonna exploit that?
The same way they did.
But I didn't see a whole lot of
That by
post
tire
ups.
yeah, you didn't see it because they were tiring him out.
Okay.
I think it's a loaded
That's
question.
that's how like I'm looking at things from like a something deeper than just what you see on the court. And I'm looking at how it's like a keen awareness that I'm talking about.
I'm looking at what's going on in the court, and
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but it's like
what
it's
I saw them do was they crowded
yeah,
Jokic.
but that's not all they did. That's
That
not
may
all they
not be all
did.
they did, but that's what essentially affected his game. He didn't take a lot of shots because he
Yes.
was
I
crowded.
understand that,
But
but what I'm saying is LeBron and Luka understand something about the psychology
okay,
of the
I get
sport
that.
on a
But
deeper level than just the performance. They
they're not going to sit
understand
down
the
and talk. They're going
tendencies of
to
everyone.
go out and play. So
No, they understand the tendencies of everyone on the court. And so does JJ Redick. So he could come up with a certain game plan. So they know their weaknesses as a team.
mhm.
My only question is, can you exploit the Lakers' weaknesses 4 times in a 7-game series before they exploit yours?
I
And
mean,
I
they've done
don't
it the last
necessarily
couple
see
of
a team being
seasons,
able to
so
do it.
I trust they can. But with that said, I'm sorry I got to go. Unfortunately, but I enjoyed this conversation because this was a night where we talked a lot of basketball. Really kind of got deep into it, which I enjoyed. And I forgot to mention at the beginning, we appreciate you guys for helping us get to 200 subs. You know, thank you guys. We're a work in progress, so please continue to help us grow. Shout out to King Speaks. I'm sorry I couldn't get the link in, but I have to leave. But I know you'll be on tomorrow. Um, so I know you're going to have a similar topic to what we talked about tonight, kind of y'all's seating predictions of how his more about where everybody will land come playoff time. So check out King Speech Row, 10 Toes Down podcast. And I forgot to ask Sports Talk, but King Speech was asking if I know you guys are supposed to do the GOAT debate, if that's still kind of in the works.
Yeah, I'll make sure, like for sure, when I can do it.
Okay.
I just don't have a schedule right now where I
Okay.
can, guarantee on this day. You know what I'm saying? I called in today, so you know what I mean.
Okay. Well, yeah. So yeah, don't miss work because for that. But yeah, just let me know what date, and we'll build it up and get you guys on to do that little debate or big debate. That's the big one. So so with that said, any parting words? Anything you guys got before we sign off tonight?
uh,
No. Oh, I'll go ahead. Just
Yeah,
not
go
not
ahead.
really. Just appreciate y'all for the 200 plus subscribers. Definitely keep hitting that like button. Keep subscribing. Road to 300. Appreciate y'all for pulling up to the stream, and we'll be back soon with some more content.
Yep.
uh, man, I'm I'm processing a lot right now. But anyways, I I don't see how teams are gonna adjust to LeBron and Luka on the same team.
Okay. Well, who they play next?
I don't even know, honestly.
Shoot, I could find out real quick.
Let me see.
They got Minnesota.
Okay, that's going to be another interesting matchup. So if they run the gauntlet, I mean, you saw the
Minnesota is
comeback. You saw the
cheeks.
comeback the
Come
other
on,
night.
but they are cheeks. Come on,
You
You
saw
dog.
you
the
know
comeback
what's
the other
funny?
night.
Bef-
You can't call
I
OKC a contender and then dismiss Minnesota after you saw what they did the other
they
night.
ain't beating Luka and LeBron 4 times in a 7 game series. I'm telling
No,
you
I
that
mean I'm
right
not saying I don't think Minnesota. They're a cakewalk, but I think it's going to be a challenge. I think now teams are going to treat them kind of like they treat whoever the champion is. Every night is Game 7 for them against that team. So
now. Yeah,
Who's their
that's
second
gonna
best
be.
player? CW. Who's their second best player? Who?
for Minnesota,
Mm-hmm.
I mean one of the greatest of all time, my man Julius Randle,
That's all I need to hear. Cheeks.
one of the greatest power forwards of all time. So
Cheeks. I'm good.
Nah,
I'm sleep on
I
that.
what is it that you just said? I don't forgot and shit. And looking at all this other stuff going on, there was something you said, CW.
what
Um,
did I say?
you was talking about
I'm
the
old, so
Timberwolves. You was talking about with the, it was something I was gonna say. God damn.
yeah, I was saying, can they run the
Oh yeah,
gauntlet?
yeah, 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 yeah. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Okay, got it. It's kind of crazy because Luca literally ran the gauntlet last year, and he
I
put
wish.
out
Okay.
OKC. He put out the Timberwolves too,
I
and
mean,
now he got more tools at his disposal.
I gave him his props because I said he ran through the number one defense. He ran through OKC was I think top 3 defense. And I think Boston was the number 2 defense. So he ran to Boston, but yeah, I won't say single handedly, but he was a big part of them beating the number one and I believe number three defenses out west. So or in the NBA. So
But I'm
there's something to that.
the point
So,
I'm kind of making is he he already put them motherfuckers out last year. And
it's
now we talking about because a lot of
NBA.
people talk about OKC. I'm like, bro, they don't got the experience, dude. Not to deal with Luka and LeBron, they don't have the experience.
They're a tough
I don't.
team. They're young.
I ain't saying they just I'm definitely not saying the Lakers just gonna walk over them, right? I think they'd take them 6 or 7 games. But what I'm saying is they don't have the experience to deal with that shit. And when you put the Shea is not a LeBron who, no matter what your defensive scheme is, I'm gonna put whatever the fuck I wanna, and you can't do shit about it. He ain't a Jordan or a Kobe. Those guys that could just, it don't matter what kind of defensive scheme you put up. And I'm talking about when the defense keys on them. When it's keying on you and you the only guy out there,
well, this is his year to show it. This is his year to shine.
He's not doing it. I'm telling you, he's not doing it.
This is his season. This is I don't know, but
No, I'm telling you straight up, he's not doing it.
Well, we will see. I mean, that's a matchup that could potentially happen. I'm not
hope it
a
do,
huge OKC fan. I'm not,
I actually am.
Bet
That's the crazy
money,
part.
but I think they're a really good team, and I think on a good, if they're playing at their highest level, they can win some playoff games and can potentially get to that finals. But we'll circle back on this. Lots of basketball still left to go for this season, and I'm sure we will discuss many more things going on NBA wise. So I appreciate you guys showing up. Appreciate everyone in the chat, and hopefully you guys come back tomorrow for 10 Toes Down and come back. I don't think Goat Talk Only will probably be on a little hiatus, but we'll be back next week, same time, around the same time, hopefully. So appreciate you guys, and we'll be back soon.
That's cool.
All right.